How did these crazy Albertans that have been arrested manage to communicate with all these people in Quebec, if this is a conspiracy, to come to Ottawa on this day? It strains credibility to believe that those folks, because I don't believe any of them speak French or have a network in Quebec, were able to convince that many truckers from that province, and I'm using it as an example, to come to Ottawa. The fact is, it was a groundswell of support from across this country. It's that simple. Millions of Canadians identified with the protest. Millions of Canadians still feel the way that they did when they identified with that.
Last few weeks, right across this country, provinces, of course, who are at the front line of dealing with COVID, with the advice of science and their health officers, have come to the realization of lifting mandates. We're lifting passports, for example, March 14th in Quebec, March 1st, all passports and mandates are being lifted in Ontario. They've already been lifted in Western Canada. So why at a time when the science is telling us and provincial governments across the country are lifting all kinds of mandates, why did Prime Minister Trudeau think it wise to double down and maintain these specific mandates targeting a specific industry when all he had to do, and I've been saying this now for the last few days, is eliminate those mandates and we wouldn't have these protests and disruptions in Ottawa? So why is he going against the alignment of sciences and his provincial counterparts? And my second question to you, Senator Plett, is at the beginning of this COVID crisis, truckers in this country were hailed by this government and by all of us as heroes. They were essential workers that kept us fed, that transported food across the country. All those things we get on Amazon and at Costco and Club Price and Walmart is due to these people. So at which point, Senator Plett, did these heroes during the crisis, along with our healthcare providers, become these deplorable, undesirable extremists? At what point? Was it at the point when they started disagreeing with public policy with the Trudeau government? Was that the point?
Plett.
Let me take this opportunity just to one more time, and I know it isn't answered and on the record, but to read this. This is the Prime Minister who tweeted, in the early days of the pandemic, while many of us are working from home, there are others who aren't able to do that, like truck drivers who are working day and night to make sure our shelves are stocked. So when you can, he said, please thank a trucker for everything they're doing and help them however you can. Senator Housakos, in the beginning of the pandemic, we had leaders, including the Prime Minister, telling us, we have your back. In my own province, they said that, and this isn't this Prime Minister, but I'll use it anyway. We have your back. 3 months later, then they had a snitch line developed where report your neighbor. That is what this has done. That is the type of leadership we have here. One day we have your back, the next day report your neighbor. And so, Senator Housakos, do I believe these mandates should have been lifted? Yes. However, officially I cannot say that that is what the Prime Minister should have told truckers that were coming here to protest. I think if he had done it before they got here, would have been the time to do it. Because, as you say, provinces were doing that. And the inconsistency of these and how they telegraph these things out, on that date, we will lift this mandate. I'm not sure how science says on that date things will be better, but somehow they do.
On debate, Senator Youssef.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honourable colleagues. I do have to say, in getting up here to participate in this debate, I want to thank all of my colleagues who were speaking already for the remarks they have made. I think it's informed me, of course, in regard to the remarks I'm about to make, but equally, I'm also troubled by a couple of things. I do believe our nations and the challenge we face are not unique. Every country, I think, faced some challenges at different times. But given our role of how do we bring ourselves together to ensure our country remains strong and committed to the principle of our democracy and our citizens must have rights. As I'm about to speak to you, I also want to acknowledge today is Anti-Bullying Day. If you notice, I'm wearing sort of a pink tie. I did have a pink shirt, but it's in the cleaner, so I couldn't get it on in time to be here this morning. But I want to say for all those young people in our schools across this country who are taking the time to observe Anti-Bullying Day, I want to salute them for their courage and the work they're doing, because this will make our country a better place for them when they grow up to be adults in our country. I also want to start out by saying to colleagues that I believe the government has made the test for the invocation of the Emergency Act. And I don't say that very lightly, because I do recognize in our country the right to protest is a fundamental right. As a matter of fact, I would argue I may be a student of protest. My entire life has been on barricades before parliaments, provincial legislature, municipal city halls, protesting one thing or another on behalf of working people. I've come here in Ottawa in the dead of winter, mad and crazy for doing it, but we're protesting high interest rates because we believe it was having a detrimental impact.